In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years. I read an editorial today that this is the most consequential presidency in history. How about that?
It's true. And he's got a lot to be proud of, and so do we, huh? We helped make this happen, making America great again. President Trump in Michigan tonight on the 100th day in office. They started making this thing a thing, I think, all the way back when FDR had a very active first 100 days in office. Does it compare to President Trump's? I don't know, but so much needed to be done, and it's getting done. Number one, my favorite, the border is secure, and that is glorious. Yes, it's true. We did not need new laws. We didn't need this, that, and the other thing. We needed a new president to execute the laws already on the books, make a few tweaks here and there, and we have a secure border. How about this one? Protecting women and girls. As the father of two young girls, ages 3 and 5, this is perhaps my most favorite. Keeping men, biological men, out of girls' sports. The idea that corporate America, the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, before Trump showed up, actually was saying that was a good idea. Everything is coming back to a very beautiful and sane place. The war on woke. This is another thing that's driving all of us nuts, but we're winning, right? The idea that a transgender or transvestite, whatever, would be in class or at a public event with children, that's wrong, okay? And everybody knows it. And woke goes way beyond that. It's a lot of different things, but it's all coming to an end, or at least it's being marginalized and kicked out of federal government, and corporate America is also following suit. And who doesn't like this?
We're pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person, and hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda.
Linda McMahon, she is the Secretary of Education, but probably the last one, because we're going to shut down the U.S. Department of Education. You know who is opposed to this thing? Democrats across the board. The teachers union, they hated the idea back in the late 70s, and every Republican, Ronald Reagan, promised to close it, and now it's actually going to happen, I do believe, under President Trump. How about this? Woke and weird and dangerously unqualified generals and admirals getting the axe, being fired. Again, Pete Hegseth pulled the trigger. I give him a heck of a lot of credit, and so the credit also goes to President Trump, of course. These guys, you know, firing C.Q. Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that was actually a hard thing to do. Not for me, not for Pete, not for President Trump, I guess, but you know, the world says, oh, no, you can't. No, you can't. But after what he said in 2020, the mutinous comments and how he embraced all this DEI stuff, he had to go. And Mark Milley, another mutinous character, being stripped of a security detail and his classified clearances, that's another thing. And hopefully, they're actually going to bring him back to active duty to court-martial him for what he did on January 6th and a lot of other things. Seeking peace. What a novelty, right? We were committed to war, the never-ending war in Ukraine. This is such a departure and a refreshing one. A president actually seeking peace. This is something that the left should be on the side of, right? Anyway, it's happening. And I do like, and I hope it doesn't come to an end, the allegiance between President Trump and Elon Musk, the richest and smartest man in the world, possibly, right up there with President Trump. A dynamic duo, truly. President Trump finally has a peer and somebody on his level. And you've seen the results. Just a smattering of them so far. My favorite was the USAID, gutting all that crazy stuff they had going over there, right? I mean, just look at it. $5 billion for Ukraine, for the revolution. I mean, it gets weirder and weirder. $20 million for the Sesame Street in Iraq. You remember, it's a crazy list, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think they need Elon, though. You know, the bureaucrats, they can say no to a lot of people. It's very hard to say no to Elon Musk. And actually, this is probably my very favorite, come to think of it. The pardons and the freedom for the January 6ers. These guys were so over-prosecuted, persecuted. So many of them didn't break anything or hurt anybody, and they were thrown into jail, exorbitant prison sentences, no due process for some of them, a total disgrace. And I'm really confident that something great is going to happen for the estate, the family of Ashli Babbitt. Ashli Babbitt, the young woman who was unarmed on January 6th and shot and killed. There isn't a police department in the country that could justify her homicide. It is impossible. It's illegal to use deadly force against a person who you don't know to be carrying a weapon, and she wasn't. Officer Byrd never even said, I thought she might have a weapon. No, he couldn't say that. She posed no deadly threat, and she posed no threat of serious bodily injury. You can't shoot somebody like that. And I so appreciate that during his campaign, President Trump never forgot about her. You know, for a long time, he was really one of 2 or 3 people in all of America who would say her name.
Ashli Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer, and a person named Ashli Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. But we have people, and Ashli Babbitt, who was killed, she was the person that was killed.
And I love it since he's become president. Unlike a lot of other people, they campaign and they say all kinds of stuff when they want our votes, when they want our support, and then they get in there and they sing another tune, don't they? Especially on this issue. You know, the Republican Party wasn't exactly clamoring for the January 6ers, but he hasn't forgotten.
Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashli Babbitt. She was shot for no reason whatsoever. A man did something to her that was unthinkable when he shot her, and I think it's a disgrace.
Now, we will point out also, Roseanne Boyland, it seems, well, we're still looking into it, but she died also on January 6th, and I've personally witnessed video of an officer beating her with a stick while she's on the ground unconscious. We got to get to the bottom of that. But yes, Ashli Babbitt was shot and killed when she posed no threat to anybody. Officer, I guess now he's what, Lieutenant or Captain Michael Byrd is the one who pulled the trigger. Yes, he's been promoted and he has been given all kinds of extra money and a bonus and a medal, and the man probably deserves to be in prison. Aaron Babbitt, the family, the husband of Ashli, they are suing the federal government with the help of Judicial Watch, a $30 million wrongful death lawsuit. And, you know, she wasn't just shot. After she was shot, you know, it's possible that she could have lived, but they totally screwed up the treatment of her. Take a look at this. They drag her out of the Capitol like a wheelbarrow. You see anything here? All right, you see how they're holding her? She was shot in the neck, and they're holding her neck down. That's crazy. You elevate the wound. This is malpractice, whatever. It's just horrific. And outside, the treatment for her was not appropriate. And they actually had a doctor. I didn't know about this until recently. There was a doctor. He was actually a J6 protester, but he was treating her. See the guy in the olive there? All right, here he is getting pushed away. All right, that guy in the blue, the cop, is pushing him away. I believe we have other footage, though, where you can actually see him treating Ashli Babbitt. All right, there he is. He's about to go down, right? And he's actually, for several minutes, helping the team, the cops. He's a physician. He knows what he's doing. And at first, the cop in the blue jacket seems to be, okay, you know, I'm all right with this. And then he gets all aggressive and weird and grabs him and pushes him. He tried to save a life. If they let him work a little bit longer, maybe he could have saved a life. Why the hell was he pushed out like that? Well, we're going to meet the doctor in just a little bit. I can't wait. I heard about this guy, and he'll be on the show shortly. $30 million to some people seems like a lot of money. It actually really shouldn't. I mean, the Central Park Five, the guys who are not entirely innocent of what happened in that park in 1989, we believe. $45 million settlement for those guys many years ago, almost 20 years ago, they got that money. How about how much money did the family of George Floyd get? $27 million. All right, they're pretty big settlements out there, folks. You know, the federal government settled with, and I think this is appropriate too, the victims of a mass shooting in Texas. They said that the Air Force should have done a better job kind of screening and evaluating one of its members who opened fire on all those people in that church back in 2017. So I hope everything works out for the Babbitts. They certainly deserve so much that can probably never be repaid, but the government has got to make a serious attempt to do the right thing. All right, next, please. We found out something interesting. I heard about a rumor for a long time about, well, what was going on July 13th of 2024. I heard a rumor that, well, it's about CNN. CNN! They don't really like President Trump all that much, do they? And they're all very arrogant, and they look down on him, especially this crew, the political team, and anybody who has their hands on their hips like they're all that. I heard a rumor that this was the first rally, July 13th, 2024, that CNN ever took live. Well, kinda. The CNN covered the Butler rally live from the very start to the gunshots and beyond. They got out right after the gunshots. The rumor isn't entirely correct, but it's not entirely wrong. I don't suspect anything sinister, but for all the dates of all the times they had rallies, let's see here. Thursday, June 6th, they took 17 seconds. Friday, June 28th, they took 3 minutes and 51 minutes of coverage, but it wasn't the beginning and it wasn't the end. Let's see here. July 9th, they did 17 seconds. Butler, they went from the very first minute right up until he was shot. That's 6 minutes. That's longer than any other rally for 2024. And all these others, they did not cover. Again, nothing sinister, just kind of one of those weird things. Here is that moment, by the way.
Out of 69 Senate races, one in a state that voted the other way for president. And
Ron,
their Democrats are defending.
I'm so sorry to do this to you, but we're going to have to interrupt you, and I'm sorry to put you all on standby, but we're going to go to President Trump now, who's speaking at a rally in Pennsylvania. We await his VP pick ahead of the convention. Let's listen to him.
Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, and that's what you are, and we got to bring our country back to health.
Okay, maybe it was just the interest in the possible, announcement of the VP, right? Was that going to happen at that moment? Maybe. When it did actually happen, when the gunshots rang out, they did this.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, we are watching live. We do not know what is happening. We see Secret Service agents there with former President Donald Trump. This is at live video from Butler, Pennsylvania, where they are scrambling. We heard sounds, and that is when they told the former president to get down.
Personally, I would have stayed with the scene. You want to find the whole thing. Again, nothing sinister, just kind of weird, right? What are the odds? It's a coincidence. Coincidence happens. The first rally they took live from the very beginning. I guess they were waiting for Vance's announcement, but interesting, nevertheless. There's so much about this Butler situation that has not yet come to light. There have not been sufficient coverage of the findings or lack thereof. Now, this is interesting. This is from an official report from Homeland Security. No one was in charge. No one was in charge. Like, basically, everybody who was there kind of thought somebody else was in charge. And there was a lot of this, right? There was a lot of, no, not me, that guy. It wasn't me. It was the second supervisor, the site supervisor, the site agent, the lead, the SI. They have all these titles that they were hiding behind. And it was that guy, not me. And then, well, after the damn thing, nobody did any real introspection.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.